shit's in the safe. Got me a spot out the way. Nigga just tryna be safe.
Let's get to a sports talk.
Evaluating Alabama, how would you evaluate them, Paul Finebaum, considering it's going to be Mac Jones the rest of the way?
Well, I don't think you can do it this week because Alabama is playing Western Carolina. That's a great sample size. But next week after Auburn, if Mac Jones goes into a fairly difficult place to play against a good team, I know if Alabama wins this game, people are going to lazily say, oh, they're an 8-4 team. But look inside the numbers. They played some outstanding teams. Then you'd have to say Alabama has a shot. Now, I know not much of one, but I would give them some credit.
We're saying Alabama, we're talking about Alabama and their playoff opportunity, which seems like it won't happen, right? Like a lot has to happen for Alabama to work their way back into the playoff. Why is no one talking about teams that are currently in the rankings and in the playoff right now, Ohio State and Clemson?
I'm glad you went there. They're the two best teams in the country. Ohio State and Clemson are the two best teams in the country. They're the most complete football teams. They're the teams that have the least amount of flaws. Their quarterbacks are playing as good as anyone in college football. They're led by head coaches that are outstanding. And their defenses are knock you out good. Like, knock you out good. They're the two best teams. And if I'm the committee, I'm kind of sneakily making sure that I see them the right way so that they play in the title game. Because I think that's the best game. I think that those two teams would provide the best national championship game.
So you think that the committee should actually take into consideration what those matchups would potentially be and purposely rank them so that they wouldn't play each other? What do you say about what you're going to see tonight?
State, they got Chase Young back. The defense was already good, but when you add Chase Young back with that defense was more dominant. And Justin Fields take care of business. Like, he's a top college quarterback that's having a good year. I think he only threw like 3 picks this year and 20-something touchdowns. Like, they have a quarterback that's going down the field and just getting wins for him. And taking care of just take care of his business, like just go on the field and be ready. And Trevor Lawrence, he finally coming around and playing like he played last year. You know, even though it took about like 10 games to stop being up and down, now he's picking it up a lot more. And he just picking up and helping his team out more. And Clemson always had a solid defensive line, solid defense. So we don't know what's going to happen. Because every day I always switch in these college football rankings.
From the committee?
More the same. Georgia before. Here's the fly in the ointment. Georgia beating LSU in the SEC championship. 2 SEC teams that get in.
Oh, they'll get in.
That's number one.
Okay.
Number two is when you look at Alabama, they're not going to get benefit of the doubt this year because their defense is struggling. They don't have that nominal thing that has been dominant outside of the offense, and now Tua is gone. So you don't know what Mac Jones is going to be as well.
This will be, with all due respect to you, purple people eater, LSU's last week as number one, because next week, if Ohio State beats Penn State, LSU goes down. And Marcus, can you came in here the other day and did all of that crazy stuff with Greeny and Stephen A. Smith. Can you do something for the LSU defense? Because they got gashed the other night against Ole Miss, and that is a troublesome sign moving forward.
Well, I mean, if you're a football guy.
I agree with Paul on that. If they do make this playoffs, you playing against top offenses. Way better than Ole Miss offense. If they don't get that straightened up by the time they make the playoffs, it's going to be troubling for them. Because they gave up like 30 points against Ole Miss. Now, imagine when you play Ohio State offense. Imagine when you play Clemson offense. Imagine you play Georgia offense. Like, if you can't stop nobody from scoring 30 points, it's going to be trouble for them. Because all 3 teams in that playoffs have good offense.
Context, it is very worrisome.
Okay.
Like when you, what?
Well, what I'm saying is that with that being said, there's some issues in LSU. You think they could still potentially lose to Georgia, make the playoff, and you could advocate for leaving out a one-loss Pac-12 champion?
Oh, yeah, you're going to take LSU over there.
Or Unless LSU loses, Oregon or Utah is getting in. One of those Pac-12 champions.
Here's LSU. LSU strength is they have 4 top 10 wins. All right. So when the conversation is happening, that's going to determine more than they beat Auburn. Oregon lost to Auburn.
The only way it happens if Georgia wins the SEC title, they've got an issue because there's going to be a one-loss conference championship.
Texas A&M plays Georgia and LSU. Nobody wants to talk about A&M, and for good reason.
Yeah, that's what the committee go off of. How many top wins you have? I don't think Oregon and Utah don't have that many top 10 wins. They had LSU have 4, so it don't matter if they lose in that title game. They still could get in because the top wins they have on their resume.
So the Pac-12's best chance at getting into the playoffs is LSU beating Georgia. We're so glad you're watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports and analysis, download